Welcome to the Sandpit Startups podcast, where we explore entrepreneurship and journey into the minds of the brightest and the best the region has to offer. We're here to connect the entrepreneurs in the studio with the entrepreneurs sat at home. We sincerely hope the next half an hour motivates, inspires, or educates you. And if it does, you know where the follow button is.
So today we have with us Aman Singh, who is the entrepreneur in residence of Urban Company. Urban Company is a tech-enabled platform that connects customers with trusted home service professionals. Thank you, Aman, for being with us in this podcast today.
Yeah, thank you for having, guys. I'm really excited to talk about entrepreneurship. Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, really excited as well. Let's talk about the entrepreneur in residence role, right? Yeah. So, in my previous or right now, currently in the entrepreneur in residence role, whenever I mention this to people, they usually think, "Oh, you're an entrepreneur who works from home." So let's clear the air about it. As a fellow entrepreneur in residence, what it is the role offers in a tech company, which is in a Urban Company.
Absolutely, yeah. So the entrepreneur in residence role is, broadly speaking, it is what it sounds like. Although the residence not as in home, but like an actual company. But see, depending on the sector, from technology to B2B to B2C, entrepreneur in residence could be a very broad role. And an entrepreneur in residence basically takes care end to end of either a small business segment or a complete market, depending on the sector. And this primarily has three things, right? So number one is, especially in tech, number one is product development for the region. Second is marketing. And third is business and operations.
Okay.
So the core fundamentals of a business, that is what an Urban Company entrepreneur in residence take care of. Yeah, so that's broadly what it is, depending on the region, depending on sector. This could vary a little bit.
Yes.
And to draw some congruence, it's something like being in an incubator. You are given the resources, you have a borderline defined market,
yes,
or a defined product. And what you really have to do is do the 0 to 1 journey for a product or the complete company in the region. And see, any business goes through the 0 to 1 and 1 to 10 journey.
Correct.
So EIR...
Sorry to interrupt, but what are these 0 to 1, 1 to 10
absolutely
stages?
So 0 to 1 is something where you know vaguely that this is your market, but you're not really sure what are you going to offer them.
Okay.
What is going to attract your customers or user towards the product, and how are you going to make a business out of it?
Okay.
So the 0 to 1 journey is really figuring that out.
Right.
What should be your product? Who is your customer specifically? What are you going to talk about in your marketing campaigns or your product? How is it going to make sense for you in a business?
This is really just developing your MVP and getting your proof of concept, right?
Absolutely. So it's the MVP stage where you have proof of concept that a couple of people are buying my services.
Yes.
Either right now or at scale, I'm able to make money out of this per unit of transaction that I do. So that's really the 0 to 1 journey. And EIR is essentially someone who takes this journey for a company.
Definitely. And I can probably chime on that also.
Yeah.
Over here in my role, it was basically a tried and tested product, which is like Urban Company also in India, right? So we are past the MVP stage because we have a good product which we know that works. But it's about expanding to a new market and just testing the waters in the sense what actually they want and probably doing some tinkering along the way. So the customers in this part of the region or whichever market you're going to, they adapt and they accept the product.
Question.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Question for both of you. Maybe you can tag team this answer. But when you're pitched with all these opportunities for an entrepreneur in residence role, and you have an opportunity where it's got a track record of being successful elsewhere, how much more does that convince you to choose that as an opportunity?
Yeah, I think fair question. See, when you know that the product has been tested in a market, that doesn't necessarily mean it will be successful, especially for the product like home services B2B market, right? Where whenever your customer is whenever you're in a direct to consumer market, things shift drastically from region to region or product to product. So like it does convince you a little bit of not the proof of concept, but the fact that this team has the resources to make something successful in a market So those resources is what actually convinces you that I will have a year, 2 year, 3 years of resources to try and test it out and do iterations.
Why does it differ so much with B2C? Is it because cultures change, but perhaps when it's B2B, business premises don't
Probably
really
I can
change too
touch
much?
on that. For example, the business that I expanded here was B2B. So with the B2C, right, it's much simpler because you do get access to the customers directly. And for example, of Indian startups which expanded to the UAE for Zomato per se. So it already exists in different parts of the world. And it's not very difficult for, let's say, the end customer to comprehend how to use this product. And it's very intuitive. So that really helps in the process. But if it's B2B, the challenges are different. The mindset is different. So B2B tends to be a little more difficult than B2C in this part of the world, from my experience. But
Yeah,
Aman can
absolutely.
touch
So
on
in
more.
especially markets which are highly regulated, like Saudi, has very different rules and regulations, varying depending on business, right? But see, B2B, to sum it up, what you said, B2B mainly competes on cost,
Yes.
region to region, right? For B2C, it mainly competes on innovation, quality, some aspects cost, right? So the cost might remain the same region to region, but the other things like innovation and what is a good quality for me versus someone from a different culture varies, and it's very subjective. So that's the reason why this gets a little more challenging.
So the question arises now that urban company decides to expand to UAE, right?
Yeah.
It's a daunting task in itself, expanding
Absolutely.
to different regions. And it's almost like a startup because you're pre-revenue in a new market.
Yeah.
How is that experience? And are there any learnings along the way that is probably you can take motivation or inspiration from your previous role, or how does it work?
Absolutely, yeah. Very exciting journey. I can still remember knocking on the doors of random customers to have an interview, just to have a chat, and 9 out of 10 times they're like, "Get the hell out of here." So yeah, that is quite a journey. But I think maybe let me start talking about why we chose this region, right? Why we chose Dubai and UAE. So the oldest market that we have been in is India.
Right.
And if you try to see the top 10 Indian cities, right, Bangalore, Bombay, etc., it has a population of close to 300 million, right? It's similar to United States population, so it's that big.
Yes.
It's a massive market, right? And Dubai, the city alone, has a 3.5 million population. So that's like 1.5% of the top 10 Indian cities.
Yes.
So you'd see the scale of the market is very, very small. But when you talk about market share, which is how much revenue or how much money can you make out of the market, that is 20% of the top 10 Indian cities.
Okay.
So 1% of the population in UAE compared to India is 20 times more valuable.
is it
right?
because of the willingness to pay, or
It's both.
Okay.
It's willingness to pay is one, of course. Second is the frequency of transactions. It varies when you get into a market which is all migrant population, all working population,
yes.
right? And it's similar to, we are also in the US. So in US, if you take the tier 2 cities, Dallas, Austin, etc., if you compare the 5 biggest tier 2 cities in the US,
Right.
in terms of population, that is also close to 6 to 5x of Dubai.
Okay.
But in terms of value, it's still 20 to 30% of the value that those cities will give.
When it comes to a city with a much higher population, do you find that you have to do a lot more prospecting in your marketing?
I don't think that the population, what really matters is how big is your market, right? So in a population of 10 million, or for the business that you're running, your relevant population might only be like 100,000, right? Or for a population of 10 million, your relevant population might be again 10 million. So it really depends on who your customer is.
So you're not really looking at 300 million as your pool. You're not comparing 300 versus 3.1. You're actually, or 3.6. You're looking at
Actually, the market, yeah.
just the market.
Just the market, yeah.
And did it help, for example, if you check the demographic spread over here, definitely there are Indians, so they
Absolutely.
associate with the product already because they use it back home. So it's much easier. It's, for example, it's like Deliveroo in the UK, and people use it here. They use it in Australia also.
Absolutely,
So there is that brand association. Did that also help you a smooth transition into the market?
Absolutely. So coming back to the original question of why did we start the UAE market, right? Is number one is of course the scale. The scale is massive. Per customer, we are able to get 20%, 20x the revenue of what we would have gotten in our original India market. The second reason is this: because 90% of the population in this country is migrant population.
Right.
And it's not that it's first generation immigrant, unlike Singapore or the US. These are all people who are born in different countries and they have come to this country. So what happens is when people travel to a different country and they have not been born and brought up in that country, they bring their cultures with them, right? That is what makes Dubai very, very different. And back home in India, Urban Company is a massive market. We are already sitting at like 15, 16, 17% market penetration in the categories that we lead. Yeah. And the reason why we decided to come here is because we know 20-25% of the population is Indian. They're born and raised in India. So that helped us acquire, the initial set of 1,000 or 10,000 or so users where we can really iterate on our product, perfect our product, and understand other user segments better.
It's a nice way of like piggybacking off already understanding users, perhaps people that are already quite familiar with your products.
Absolutely, yeah.
From India.
Yeah.
But then also they're a little bit integrated into culture here.
Yeah.
So it's just like a bit of a stepping stone between like Indian culture, Dubai culture.
Absolutely.
It's that middle ground.
Absolutely. It is the middle ground. And this did have its challenges as well. So the advantage is that a lot of Indian people, they already know Urban Company from back home. So there's not a lot of resistance to use a brand which they've used back home and know the name of. But so these are learnings and mistakes that we did, but right now we have changed. So see, the market in the Middle East, especially Dubai, is also very mixed, right? There are Europeans, there are Arabs, there are other people from Asia. And what we took time to understand is that, especially in a B2C market, in a service like home services, personal services, an Arab versus a European versus a South Asian have very different requirements. Right? What might make sense or what is a good quality or what is a good price for an Arab varies or is very different than what it is for a European versus a South Asian versus an Asian. And I think that took us a lot of time to figure out because we also came, with the same product that exists back in India. We bought the same product here. Yeah. So like an example I can give, perhaps a bit funny, is so we also have this beauty services, right? And in India, the biggest category within the beauty service is the waxing service. Waxing is usually hair removal in the body.
I see where this is going.
Right? And when we, so that's like a hero product that sells the most. And we enter Dubai, we start selling it, a few quarters go by, and it just doesn't sell, right? Everything else is going great. And we do interviews and interviews, try to understand, run data. There are analysts sitting on verifying user data, this and that. Later on, what we understood is, see, although India is like a huge chunk of population, there are a large proportion of Europeans, a large proportion of Arabs. And Arab and European women don't have a lot of hair on their body, right? And it is acceptable in their culture. And even in some societies mandated that you get a laser treatment done when you're a teenager or when you're young. So laser treatment just removes all the hair permanently.
It's a one-time cost and then lifetime free.
It's a one-time cost.
There's also some European countries where like there's no shaving.
Yeah, absolutely.
for women.
It doesn't exist in that culture.
But anyway, this is turning into a different podcast.
Yes. So that is like one example of how things can be very different for a region which has a lot of population or mixed population. Especially not people who are like first generation immigrants, but people who have come from different countries and settled here. So that was very challenging for us to understand. And even in marketing, that varies a lot. So your marketing strategies, which this is a mistake that I see a lot of new tech startups make when they enter the space, is that a message that is convincing or that makes sense for an Arab versus an Asian, it has to be very different. It's not just the language. It's just different. Their priorities are different. The way they think is
Okay.
different.
Okay.
So you really have to customize your products, messages, specifically to the audience, right? So yeah, so that's something that we have learned and iterated over time.
Mm-hmm.
Your 360 lifestyle app area is like pretty hot competition. So
Yeah.
what are you guys doing to differentiate yourself
Yeah,
in terms of like branding and marketing and
absolutely. Yeah.
strategy as well?
So I think that comes from how do you define a competition? So competition is a struggle or a competition to get market share, right? So if there are 100 eligible customers for your product or service, and you have 50 of them and I have 50 of them, you are my competition because you have 50 of them and I want those.
Yeah.
That's competition. The segment that we're talking about, or that urban company, just like Amazon Web Services, etc., home services, sorry, are into. See, this market is largely still unorganized.
Okay.
So talking about Dubai has around 400,000 households who require home services on almost monthly basis, right? And that's around 1 million services in a month, right? Now, in a month, these organized platforms, us including, do like 100,000 services in a month.
Okay.
All of these including.
Yeah.
So you're still left with that 900,000, right? So these organized players are just 10% of the market. 90% of the market is completely unorganized. So when we talk about competition, a real competition is not these apps, but the unorganized mom and pop shop, individual home services providers,
Okay.
cutting corners in terms of regulations, etc., and offering services. So that's the real competition, and not these applications or organized players. That actually, to some extent, benefits companies, and that's true even for home service, for food tech, for example. Although that's a bit different because that segment is largely organized.
Okay.
Food at home, food delivery, for example, Kareem, Talabat, etc.
That's a red ocean, right?
Yeah, that's also highly competitive space, but
Yes.
all of that is organized. So in terms of competition, those apps are real competitions, but here that's not the case. The competition is the 90% of the market, which is completely offline,
Okay.
right? Coming to the question on what are we really doing to tackle that, I think so because it's unorganized and it's not tech enabled, right? The reliability and quality of service that they are able to provide is way below what a tech enabled, highly organized platform is able to give, right? But the challenge there becomes is, see, quality can never be why people buy a product. That can be a reason why people repeat you, why people like buy you again and again,
Yeah.
but that cannot convince people to take a service from you from the start. Now, it's up to us to figure out and spin it off in a way that you at least try your services and then you realize the quality of service and then you keep taking that again. So yeah, that's how we deal with competition right now.
And as you mentioned, right, because it's unorganized, you have other players probably that do not look at it from a different lens as you would as being a tech company, because I'm sure you would have many metrics that you actually measure to see the customer satisfaction, maybe through NPS scores, or to see customer retention, why a particular customer is churning out and whatnot.
Yeah.
So how do you make these data-driven decisions? Because that's how I feel you would differ in terms of not only providing great quality, but also to retain customers, then probably
Absolutely, yeah.
the unorganized sector.
Yeah. So talking in terms of metrics that we look at, or any tech company looks at, any tech startup, especially in the B2C space, see, there are mainly two things. That's it. There's one is how happy is your customer,
Yeah.
which is of course measured through customer NPS and other surveys, etc. Second is market capitalization or market penetration, you can call it, right? Depending on the market. Which basically means if there are 100 eligible users who consume your services or products in some form or the other, how many of those consume services from you?
Yeah.
So as I mentioned earlier, on a monthly basis, in Dubai alone, there are around 1 million home services consumed across 400,000 unique households. And how much of that is coming to us, right, that is the number, that's the key number to track, because that really tells you what your strategy should be. Should you acquire more people? Should you work on bettering your retention, right? Should you change your strategy because you're not scaling fast enough and things like that? So yeah, so the number one thing is market penetration. How many users are taking services from you versus the others? Second is the quality, which is measured through customer NPS surveys, which is after every service, after every consumption. And see why the customer service metric is so important, especially for tech-enabled B2C startups, is because the fundamental rule that these tech startups work with is, see, initial few years, you burn a bunch of money to build your brand and marketing and develop your product enough that people love the services. So with time, you acquire this 5% market penetration.
Yeah.
You give them an amazing service. Customers love your services. At the same time, you're pouring money into marketing, brand building, and campaigns
Yes.
and product development. And then there's a critical point where you take off this money from marketing, brand building, product development, and it sort of becomes a flywheel. The customers who are happy so far continue. They keep talk, like through word of mouth, they keep spreading awareness, and your market still continues to grow. But now you're not pouring in that money that you had to, because you've built enough brand awareness and enough customers are really, really happy about your service. That's the fundamental way any tech startup operates.
The momentum is there.
Yeah, right. And that's why customer happiness and experience becomes very, very important for all of these companies. So yeah, in terms of metric, it's the customer experience, and it's how much of the customers do you have versus other players have.
So just in terms of acquiring new customers, what are, especially when coming to Dubai, what are like sort of the marketing strategies that you've tried and tested, and what would you suggest to aspiring startups, regardless of industry, that they should try?
Absolutely. I think what I've seen work across markets, especially in Dubai, is mainly digital, of course. Within digital, depending on who your audience is, depending on the age group, etc. There were a few things that we figured out later on, but we have gotten on that. So as I said earlier, Dubai has a mix of market, right? There are Arabs, there are Europeans, and there are others. So you really have to decide who your customer is first, and not just your messaging, even your platform will vary. For example, what we have seen is for Arabs, Instagram and Snapchat works way better.
Snapchat, really?
Snapchat
Oh,
for
right.
Arabs,
I thought
right?
it would be TikTok.
No, really, yeah. Snapchat's has a
Snapchat
huge
is
local
big.
demographic.
Oh,
Absolutely, yeah. TikTok, why it doesn't work for us, especially or markets like us, is see, TikTok is the age group of 15 to 25.
yes.
That's not really where they're sitting. Arabs, especially like 25 and beyond, are more on the Snapchat side of things, right? But if it's Asian, then Snapchat doesn't work.
Yeah.
For South Asians, it's Facebook.
Yes.
It is Instagram, right? So it really varies who your customer is. So you have to double down into the messaging as well as the platform. But mainly what we have seen work is digital across, TikTok for certain segments, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah. So something I see wrong, and this is like really echoed in what you're saying, is a lot of small businesses plow all this money into their entire ecosystem before really learning about who their demographic is. And like you said, as soon as you learn about who your demographic is, the platform's going to change, the marketing's going to change, your messaging's going to change. Every single part of that user journey changes.
Yeah.
And then guess what? You got to dump all that money straight in to get it fixed again.
Absolutely, yeah. I understand that because I've seen companies and myself also do that in the past, where we have dumped a lot of money into one size fits all kind of marketing, and it doesn't really work. Then you understand your customers better, your user segments better, and then you re-strategize and pour in the money once again. So yeah.
So probably moving on from the UAE market. So the aspirations definitely take you towards Saudi. It's a huge market per se, and especially as you mentioned, the households. So what are your plans? Have you already made moves and some insights already?
So talking about scale of market, right? Scale of business, I said why people or startups decide to do business in the UAE is because the scale is immense in terms of, not in terms of customers, but in terms of value
Yes.
that they're able to obtain. And right, when you talk about Saudi, Saudi is 10 times the scale of UAE, and it has multiple major cities. It has Riyadh, Jeddah, Mecca, where we are present. By the way, Urban Company is present there for quite some time now. And I think all of the Middle East startups which are operating in UAE, most of them have some scale of operation
Yes.
in the KSA. And KSA has been a little different journey because, see, unlike the UAE, which is especially for B2C, food tech or home services, is a free market industry, right? KSA is, although it's opening up, it's getting way better than what it was like 5 years ago. It's still highly regulated. There are government restrictions on who can do business and who can't. If you have to, for example, have a cleaning company in Saudi, you can't do that because there are only 5 companies who can do that in Saudi.
Okay.
Yeah, if you are a labor supply company, if you want to just start a business there, you cannot do that. There are only 3 companies who are allowed to do that. There's no such thing as obtaining a labor supply company license or a cleaning company license or a maintenance company license there. So it's highly regulated. And what we have found till now is to operate in that market, you need a very heavy arm twisting power, right? In order to just do your business, right? Not just sell your service, but in order for you to get the papers right, ensure that you're able to enter the market, city to city, region to region, of course. So that's why it's a bit challenging, although scale of business is immense. Saudi is a massive market, and every player in the region is full pedal down on Saudi. In the next 5 years, as it starts to open up and it starts to privatize sector by sector,
Even more,
open up more and more, it's going to immensely change. It's going to be like 5 or 6 Dubais in Saudi in the next decade or so.
That's incredible potential.
Yeah.
Just waiting to be tapped.
Yeah.
So there's clearly a lot of people with their eyes on Saudi as the
Yeah.
next move.
Absolutely.
With your sort of experience moving into Dubai now, just transitioning to here, what are you taking from that move as sort of like pointers of how you do the next move?
Yeah. So one of the things that will really help us there in terms of, especially in terms of marketing, right? Now that we have learned how this service sells and how you have this Arab segment who you talk to and you sell to, that is something that we can just take and, have a playbook and reiterate. And it's going to become a deployment market. So you build your strategies, you can build your product in the UAE and take it in Saudi and execute. Not a lot of things are going to change there. This is very different from what it was, let's say, from India to UAE, where you couldn't just, have developed a strategy or a product in India and you would have just come in UAE and scale it for day one.
Yeah.
That did not really work because it's a completely different market, different sector, right? For example, the service that we sell in Saudi and the UAE, they don't even sell in India
So
or
you have
Australia.
a different service altogether.
Absolutely.
For it.
It's a completely different service. It doesn't sell in India. It doesn't exist in India.
Wow.
It doesn't exist in Australia, right? It only exists in the Middle East, right? So that's the advantage of doing it in the UAE. The other regional markets with some sort of customization become a deployment market where you can just go and quickly deploy your product and services. So that really helps.
It seems to me like what you've done well is find out what are the right questions to ask.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing is when you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So now at least when you go to Saudi, I think you're going to find out, okay, you're going to be asking these questions from the get-go rather than trying to figure out what questions you even need to ask in the first place.
Yeah. It's like you're not starting from absolute ground zero and then you try and fail and fall down and again you start from zero. At least that did not happen in Saudi and other similar markets, I'd say, that we will or that Urban Company would go to. So yeah, that's obviously a good advantage to have.
So in terms of these questions, what are maybe like the top 3 questions you need to be asking when, or like asking yourself, asking the company when trying to move to a new region?
Absolutely. I think the first thing is opportunity. what we call it as size of price.
Okay.
Like how big is that scale? Is it 100,000 users? Is it 100 million users? Right? Bigger the opportunity, highly likely, high is the probability that you will make something out of it and will make successful, right? Whatever venture you're getting into. So number one thing that you ask is size, right? And second is just the resources that you have, right? And region to region, this might vary. For example, if in Saudi, you do need very different resources versus some other market. It could not always be money.
Could be partnerships.
Of course, it could be partnerships. It could be maybe your own product,
Yeah.
right? Or maybe your own IP, right? Which is very, very unique to the region. So after size, that's what something to consider. How many resources or how much or rather what resource do you have which you can quickly go and deploy? Do you have enough resources to test the waters to get that 0 to 1 journey done? Or are you going to, or do you have a playbook which you know for sure is going to work in the other market,
Okay.
which you don't need a lot of resources for? You can just go and deploy from day one and do that 1 to 10 scale up journey, right? Yeah. So size of the market, resources, I'd say, like broadly speaking, is something to look forward to when you deploy in a region.
So this has been an incredible educational experience for me, especially to understand how about a marketplace kind of app. And Urban Company is big in India, and it's surely going to do big here and now in KSA also.
Yeah.
And really, really thank you for making the time and to be here.
And I'm sure we'll have you on again, hopefully, after you've scaled over to Saudi.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, it was really exciting to talk about business. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Pleasure having you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. Really hope you had an insightful and informational experience from the talk we had today.
We've got plenty more episodes and snippets from our conversations with these entrepreneurs all over our social media, so be sure to follow for more.
Until then, Sandpit Startups.